Never mind, just do it. Let's go up. Richard Branson is the chairman of Virgin and is ranked 5th among the richest businessmen in the UK and 254th on Forbes' list of billionaires in 2011. He is the author of the famous autobiography Losing My Virginity, in which he shares lessons from his business and personal experiences. With an open-minded approach, free-thinking style, and humorous tone, his ideas and philosophies are shared in a deep and fascinating way. Section 1. Just do it. My motto is just do it. If you want to fly a plane, go to the airport and ask for a cup of tea. If you want to do fashion design, work as a cleaner for a fashion company, open your eyes wide and learn. When I was 16 years old and a boarding student at Stowe School, I had a project to make a magazine called Student. Many people laughed and said I was too young and inexperienced, which strengthened my determination and made me more determined. My classmate Johnny Gems joined me in planning. We listed the types of articles needed, calculated all costs, methods of distribution, contacted companies for advertising, and interviewed famous figures or bands like James Baldwin, Jean-Paul Sartre, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, etc. by public phone or mail. I learned how to communicate, how to sell, and never reveal that I was a 16-year-old student. Then I received £2,500 in advertising money, enough to pay for the first 30,000 copies, which made me very happy, and the newspaper became well known. The Daily Telegraph wrote, "Perhaps Student, a flashy magazine attracting many famous journalists, will become one of the largest circulating magazines in the country." Whenever there was a new opportunity, I seized it. We contacted a shoe store in a prime location in the city, persuading the owner to rent out the remaining space for us to open a record store, which was also a place for young people to meet and listen to music. Virgin Records was born. Soon after, the store developed in all major cities, at which point I was only 20 years old. In 1984, I sponsored a boat to compete for the Blue Ribbon Prize for the UK. The first time failed, the boat sank in a storm, I almost died. But I still determined to compete the next year, also going through many dangers on the sea, finally winning and breaking the record for the Blue Ribbon, celebrating with the welcoming of everyone. After that, I and a famous Swedish explorer participated in crossing the Atlantic by balloon, becoming the first to cross the Atlantic by this means. From the US, we flew to Ireland in just 29 hours. The danger was much greater than riding a ship on the water. The entire trip was an amazing experience. If you really want to do something, just do it. You will never succeed if you can't overcome your fears and get started. Section 2. Be happy. I don't have any secrets in business. I work hard, enjoy my work and believe in myself, while balancing work and leisure. Always be happy, knowing how to love and respect others. I entered into business not to get rich, but to challenge myself in life. Work happily and you will have money. I don't understand why. But if a job is no longer enjoyable, I won't do it anymore. I have also had unsuccessful money-making plans, but I have learned a lot from them. The idea of growing Christmas trees is great. I bought 400 seedlings to plant in my garden for £5 each. After only 18 months I will be able to sell them for £2 each, earning me £795, which is a real and worthwhile amount to wait for. Unfortunately, rabbits ate all of my seedlings, and my expectation vanished. Since Virgin Records was doing well, I spent all of my cash to sign contracts with bands in Jamaica. I had a new goal of finding and buying an island in the Caribbean to be a guest and take a free tour and explore the poetic peaks of the islands. When they found out I didn't have enough money to buy the island, they let us and some other people wander around the island. The flight was cancelled, and nobody knew what to do. I quickly rented a plane for $2,000, dividing the cost among the passengers. I got it for free and made some profit. The idea of Virgin Airlines was born from that incident. When I returned to London, I still aimed to buy Necker Island. I had to mobilize all my money, including borrowing from banks. Now Necker is a beautiful place where my friends and family often gather to relax. My companies continue to flourish, but I always care about environmental protection and social work. Don't just keep making money. Success, happiness, and long-term satisfaction will never come if profit is your only purpose in business. Section 3. Be bold. I often hire intelligent and unique employees who have great ideas, and I always listen to them. I often say to them, believe in yourself, be bold but not reckless. In 1984, I decided to invest in the transatlantic airline Virgin Atlantic, in which the shareholders of the Virgin record label objected due to too many risks. I want to live life to the fullest, and strive towards new goals. We want to build from our own ideas, not invest in an already established company. With just one airplane, a maximum amount of financial resources, and a newly established company in our own way, eventually the shareholders reluctantly agreed with me. Be wary of the dirty tricks of British Airways. Those tricks caused me to go bankrupt, said the owner of Skytrain airline who went bankrupt. I did not choose a cheap service, as the large airlines could cut prices. Instead, I provided high-quality, convenient, and attentive service to passengers. I was very bold and risky, but not foolish. Eventually, Virgin Airlines succeeded to the surprise of many competitors. My next risky project was the Virgin Train in 1991. I learned the idea from the Shinkansen, also known as the bullet train in Japan, which runs smoothly, quickly, and cleanly like an airplane, and applied it to improve the railway system in England. We produced the Pendolino, the most advanced tilting train in the world. Once again, we were ahead of everyone else and very proud when the media reported that we fulfilled our promises. Section 4. Challenge yourself. If you challenge yourself, you will grow and your life will change. It is challenges that have taken us from being cavemen to reaching the stars. Since I was young, I have faced challenges. Before a challenge, my mother would often encourage me, "You can do it, Ricky." And she never said impossible. At 5 years old, during summer vacation at the beach, facing the tall waves, I looked at them with longing. Aunt Joyce said, "I'll give you 10 ceiling if you learn to swim." Day after day, I struggled in the sea, drinking gallons of seawater but still couldn't swim. It was so frustrating. The following summer, on the way home, I saw a river. It looked deep and flowed fast. I found a muddy slope, jumped down, and when I was in the middle of the river, I sank, choking on water. I sat up, not knowing how, took a deep breath and floated. I made a circle. I learned to swim. My whole family laughed and Aunt Joyce gave me 10 ceiling. When I was in school, there was one thing I couldn't do well, that was reading. No matter how hard I tried, reading and writing were still difficult for me. When the school organized an essay competition, I participated. What surprised everyone was that I won the competition. From then on, I was confident. I focused on difficult words and practiced better pronunciation. My study improved. Winning the essay competition encouraged me to build the student magazine. Later, as I grew up, I dared to participate in ocean crossings by balloon, which were extremely dangerous challenges. Life and death were only inches apart. Writer James Ullman said, "Challenge is the core and main motivation in all human actions. If there is an ocean, we will overcome it. If there is a high mountain, we will conquer it. If there is a disease, we will cure it." Section 5. Standing on one's own feet. My parents' generation went through 2 wars, so spoiling was not in their dictionary. Therefore, they taught us to stand firmly on our own 2 feet. My first lesson was when I was 4 years old. We were on our way home, still a few miles away, when my mother stopped the car and told me to find my way home through the fields. It was my first challenge in life that I will never forget. As I grew older, these lessons became more harsh. At the age of 12, one morning after breakfast, my mother gave me a lunchbox and an apple for lunch. "You'll find water on the way." My mother waved goodbye as I set off on a 24-mile bike ride to the southern coast. My mother didn't forget to give me a map in case I got lost. I had to spend the night at a relative's house and returned home the next day. Such lessons became more frequent as my parents wanted us to become strong and self-sufficient. At home, my parents didn't hide anything from us. We often discussed business at night, and we knew what the real world was like. My sister and I helped my mother with many interesting money-making plans. Through these lessons, I developed a habit of trusting myself and my own goals. In 1986, Virgin had become a strong company with a 60% annual revenue increase. I was advised to go public, although I didn't want to. We were so disappointed with how the bankers were operating. They were transferring money slowly, affecting the company's business. Virgin attracted a large public following, surpassing any market launch. However, I soon grew to hate the customs of London's financial district. Every time I signed a big contract, I had to consult a board of directors, many of whom had no understanding of music business. I decided quickly and acted on instinct, so I was frustrated by the customary practice. Then, the stock market crashed, causing the stocks to plummet rapidly, though it was not my fault. I felt everyone's disappointment. I decided to buy back all the stocks at the price people paid for them, although it was unnecessary. £182 million was enough to keep my freedom, reputation, and personality. Virgin returned to being a private company, and I felt relieved. Section 6. Living in the present. In 1997, I, along with Per and Alex, embarked on a hot air balloon trip around the world. The flight encountered many dangers, with moments of impending death. I wished to survive and vowed never to do this again. However, the challenge was irresistible. In 1998, I continued to circumnavigate the world by hot air balloon from Marrakesh through the Atlas Mountains and into Libya, where General Gaddafi prohibited us from flying over his country. I pleaded over the phone and eventually got permission to pass. We flew over Afghanistan, crossed Everest, traversed China, and conquered the Pacific Ocean. I thought that was more than enough for one person's lifetime, having experienced such excellent adventures. Before arriving in Hawaii, we crashed into the ocean and were rescued by a helicopter. I reunited with my family and close friends. Oh Lord, it was a perfect feast. My grandmother was someone who lived to the fullest. At the age of 89, she won a Latin American dance contest. At 90, she became the oldest person to get a hole-in-one in golf with only one stroke. At 99, she sailed around the world by ship. My father said, "We only have one life, so we must enjoy it to the fullest." My mother also lived this way, traveling around the world at the age of 80. Their examples remind me always to enjoy life. To make life more complete, we must always treat others well. As my parish priest said, if people make friends with their enemies, the world will be more comfortable and peaceful. What's more important is to understand that constantly living in the future can hinder us just as much as always being submerged in the past. Many people look ahead, but it seems they are never satisfied. As for me, even though the next few months' plans fill up my notebook, I have learned to live for today. Section 7. Cherishing family and friends. Although I have been taught to stand on my own 2 feet, I would be lost without my family and loyal friends. When Nick came to see us at Student Magazine, he was amazed to see us managing our money with a cookie tin. I knew he was good with money management, so I convinced him to drop out and join us in building the magazine. Nick took the money from the cookie tin and put it into a bank account, helping us distribute the magazine more effectively. Later, due to a disagreement, Nick resigned and continued his university studies, but we remained friends. When Virgin Records was founded and grew, Nick came back to us without any resentment. The lesson I learned was to be honest and resolve conflicts in a friendly manner before they become serious. I dream of having a recording studio for bands near Oxford. Although I was able to borrow £20,000 from the bank, I still needed more money. My parents allowed me to withdraw money from my savings account, and my father introduced me to Joyce to borrow more to make up the difference. She said, "You deserved to win 10 shillings when you were still a child, so why wouldn't I lend you money?" Without the help of family and friends, my dreams would be difficult to realize. Each of us needs a strong network of support from our cherished family and friends. We should appreciate them as they are an integral part of our careers. Section 8. Learn to respect. Once, I was late for a meeting and grabbed a bunch of necessary documents and jumped into a taxi with the intention of looking through the files during the ride to prepare for the meeting. Along the way, the driver exclaimed, "Ah, I know you. You're Dick Branson, the owner of a record label." "Yes, that's right," I said. The driver continued to speak nonstop. "I'm honored to drive Mr. Branson. I'm currently playing drums for a band. Would you like to hear my demo? You look tired. Come by my mother's house nearby for tea." I felt very uncomfortable but didn't want to be impolite, so I tried to listen and awkwardly said, "Thank you." The driver was actually Phil Collins, a famous singer. I was taught a lesson that always observing, listening, and behaving courteously are important. In 1971, Virgin became famous for selling cheap but great CDs. I received an order from Belgium, not having to pay tax when exporting CDs to Belgium. I directly bought tax-exempt CDs from major companies like EMI, ferried them across to France, and then drove them to Belgium. When arriving in France, French customs checked the documents, sealed them and asked for tax payment, but I argued and didn't want to pay the tax, so I had to transport the goods back. I thought I could sell them at Virgin Music stores and still get a profit of £5,000. Doing so was against the law, but I thought I was bending the rules a little bit and taking advantage of the situation that was not my fault. Because of greed, I kept doing it until the 4th trip, ferrying the goods to the pier, sealing customs and then returning. Customs had been monitoring us and searched my stores. I was shocked when I was caught, released in Dover, and imprisoned. The next day, my mother came to visit, and she said, "I know you've learned a lesson, Ricky. It's over, regretting won't help anything. We have to stand up and face this." Instead of going to court, we were fined a large sum of money. My mother mortgaged her house to help me. Her trust in me was too great. Reputation is everything. If you're starting a business and ask me for advice, I'll say, always be fair in everything. Don't cheat. Don't do anything that makes you lose sleep at night, and set goals to win. Section 9. The Gaia Capitalism. Since 1972, James Lovelock has been developing a hypothesis about our planet called Gaia theory. Gaia embodies Mother Earth as the root of all conscious and unconscious living entities. Mother Earth nurtures us gently, but also mercilessly without pity. Human action in one place on the planet is not separate and impacts the entire planet. Deforestation, increasing carbon emissions, pollution from agriculture, all affect our planet. The phenomenon of climate change is evident. Governments have established environmental resource departments, and voluntary organizations for environmentalism have been established. Steve Howard, an environmental physicist, once said, clearly, no one wants to lead efforts to address climate change, that's someone else's job. He told me, because discussing the phenomenon of global warming is so important, world-famous businessmen like him can make a difference. We decide to change Virgin's global operation model, and we call this Gaia's capitalism approach, which will help Virgin make a real difference and not be ashamed. If we don't act now to stop environmental disasters, humanity will face extinction. There are many ways to push back environmental pollution. We must change global transportation systems, energy systems, and production aspects, decentralize energy, change the types of fuel we use, and more. Personally, I am committed to contributing $3 billion to develop biofuels. We will award a $25 million prize to the person who finds the best way to remove carbon from the Earth's atmosphere. If each individual in the world changes a little bit of their way of life in the spirit of respect for Mother Earth, it will create a huge wave to turn the world into a better place. Section 10. Sexual appeal. If you start building a company, a useful lesson is to think carefully about the image and how to promote it. The advertising industry defines a strong brand as one with sexual appeal. That means customers love it, crave it, and through it, it's youthful, trendy, fun, interesting, no matter what age you are. We wore skin-tight clothes and covered the rest with a Virgin mobile phone, swinging from a very high crane at Times Square in New York, which was a spectacular advertising launch for our new product. I believe in using sexual appeal to advertise the image of Virgin. I suggested model Pamela Anderson to become the representative image of Virgin Cola. I suggested making a series of Coca-Cola-like bottles in the shape of a woman, inspired by Pamela, that we called it the Pammy, and we won big. Section 11. Innovate. When I was 8 years old, I suffered from dyslexia. Despite my efforts to learn spelling, I found it difficult for a long time. As a result, I often got punished for poor academic performance. I thought that if I couldn't shine in the classroom, I should focus on other advantages. I put all my energy into sports and became the captain of the football, rugby, and cricket teams. I won many awards and brought honor to my school. Suddenly, my teachers ignored my shortcomings in the classroom in a mysterious way. I learned an important lesson in life, which is to find other ways to succeed. Unfortunately, my glory was short-lived when I suffered a knee injury during a match. In the business world, when I complained to BA's CEO that your engineers work so poorly that they could damage an entire plane, his harsh response was, that's one of the risks of working in the aviation industry. If you had stuck to pop music, you would not have faced this problem. It was a monopolistic attitude, always criticizing others. We chose to send the plane to Ireland for Aer Lingus maintenance, although it was costly and inconvenient. I learned that I should not be bullied or just accept things as they are, but find other ways. Section 12. Doing good work. I was raised with the belief that we can all change the world through the duty of helping others and doing good work when possible. As a student and editor of the Student magazine, I opened a counseling center for students to help those of the same age group, thereby assisting many individuals in resolving issues, especially those related to gender. People often think that money is the root of all evil. However, that is not entirely true. Money can be used to do good work. The world's largest charity organizations were founded by wealthy individuals. In 2004, I established Virgin Unite, with the aim of Virgin employees worldwide joining forces to solve difficult social issues, such as helping cancer, AIDS patients and the homeless. In August 1990, Iraq invaded Kuwait, and 150,000 refugees fled to Jordan. I directed Virgin Airlines staff to deliver 40,000 blankets, tons of rice, and medication to the refugees. A few days later, I watched TV and learned that Saddam had taken several British hostages and used them as human shields. I wondered if there was anything I could do to help. Could Saddam exchange hostages for medical supplies? I contacted King Hussein of Jordan for assistance in negotiating with Saddam. Saddam agreed to release the sick and women, but wanted to meet a person of influence. I thought of Edward Heath, a close friend of mine and former British Prime Minister. Edward and I went to meet Saddam. King Hussein said, "Saddam guarantees you will be safe." However, many thought Saddam would capture us and the plane. But we were courageous and took the risk of the trip because many people were counting on me. After completing the mission, we left Iraq with the hostages and the crew, feeling relieved and celebrating on the way home. The rescue mission in Iraq made me extremely happy. Section 13. Let's fly up. My passion for aviation comes from various directions. Firstly, I am influenced by my family. My mother was the first woman in the world to become both a flight attendant and an excellent pilot. I also love hot air balloons. Whenever I fly up to the stratosphere, I feel mesmerized by the universe. As one of the children of 1960, I witnessed the scene of humans landing on the moon. In 1996, Dr. Peter Diamandis shocked the world when he announced the Ansari X_Prize Award for the first private manned space flight. In 1999, we registered the name Virgin Galactic and began researching some projects to compete for the X_Prize. Eventually, Bert's spaceship won the X_Prize. After that, I also acquired the rights to manufacture the spaceship to produce a space fleet according to Spaceship One technology. Virgin Galactic was officially founded in 2006. My intention is to bring ordinary people as passengers into space in the near future. My parents, my 2 children, and I were the first passengers to inaugurate the Spaceship Two. The market we are researching for this special product is space tourism. No goal is unattainable, and even the impossible can become possible for those with vision and confidence in themselves. Manufacturers say they want to bring superheroes into modern times by using Virgin instead of NASA. I think superheroes always exist in the future. That is where I am always heading towards. Section 14. Positive thinking. Positive thinking does not mean that you have to be young. People who no longer think and feel young tend to be rigid in their approach to life, and that is not creativity, maturity, and personal development. The person I value most in this world is Nelson Mandela, who spent most of his years in prison and breaking rocks, but he never lost his spirit. He realized that if he wallowed in bitterness, he would never truly be free. He forgave those who oppressed him because if he did not, they would ultimately harm him. It was then that he was truly free, and that is what made him great. I admire all that he has achieved in South Africa and globally, with his philosophy of peace and reconciliation. There were comments that I dropped out of school very early, but this is not necessarily the best example to follow. I think education, preferably a university degree, helps people prepare for their own journey. When people ask me which business path to take, I always say, no matter what business you choose, you need to be passionate about what you do, because when you work just for money, you will not move forward. Knowledge, passion, seizing opportunities, and determination are the power of success. At the social level, I think everything can be turned around if power is given to the people. Mandela said in his inaugural speech, "Our greatest fear is not that we cannot adjust to society, but that we have too much power. Light, not darkness, makes us most afraid." When we are liberated from our own fears, our presence also automatically frees others.